Hello, this is Rich, and in this task, we're going to load some actual geometry for our proximity mine. Pretty cool. So what we're going to do is we're going to find the model that we want to load by going to the CryENGINE root directory, going into the game, and finding an object. What kind of model do we want? Well, the closest thing we got to a proximity mine that comes with the SDK is under Weapons and AV Mine. CGF is what denotes geometry. It stands for Crytek Geometry File. We'll go ahead and we'll make sure we grab that avmine.cgf. So we'll go ahead and take everything from the game because everything in CryENGINE is relative to the game root directory. We'll go ahead and take that. And what's the best place to do this? Well, whenever our entity is spawned or reloaded, the init function gets called as well as the post init. Well, we know in the init function, everything isn't really well at this point in time, but we do know that everything is a-okay in the post init function. So after we've enabled updates on our class here, we're going to load a model. And we can do this by using our member function here, getEntity. And it's going to return an identity that owns the entity that owns this game object extension. Now we're going to save that. And we're going to do some checking here. Remember, always check for null. So it's pent. We're going to check. If pent, then we're going to tell the entity to load geometry. So pent, call this member function, load geometry. Beautiful. Now, an entity can have many geometries added to it. And these are referred to as geometry slots. So slot 0 means that that's the first slot. Slot 1 is the second slot. Slot 2 is the third slot. Okay? So we want to load this model into the very first entity slot here, geometry slot. Second parameter is the file name. Well, we already know this. Games / objects / weapons / avmine .cgf. Beautiful. Next parameter is geometry name, which is not important at all. So what you should do is pass null here and cast it to a constant character pointer. Next up is the load flags. There's only really two. There's no streaming this geometry doesn't allow streaming, and do we want to physicalize it or not? We do want this geometry to have physics to it so you can actually collide. It's not physically simulated, but it will have collision to it, okay? That's what we want. So we'll do the entity load flags enum, and we want to ef auto physicalize, or we could have just pressed 1 because that's what the enum value evaluates to. Beautiful. Now our entity actually has geometry in the first slot, and the name is avmine.cgf. And we have collision. We generated collision for it. Thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed. Stay tuned for the next part.